Our journey started pretty casually. I met my wife at a friend's birthday party, and we hit it off almost instantly. Just 8 months later, we got married, and a year after that, we had our son. Sophia worked as a school teacher, but after our son was born, she focused solely on him, and of course on herself. She loved going shopping, pampering herself at beauty salons, and so on. I didn't mind. After all, she's a beautiful woman, and I loved her deeply. Financially, things were great for us. We came from modest families. Sophia was one of 4 children, and my parents had already retired, but they ran their own small building materials shop. Being the only son, I had been involved in the family business for a long time. When our son turned 1, tragedy struck. My parents were on their way home from a restaurant where we had all gathered to celebrate his birthday. They were in an accident, and both of them died. It was devastating. At that moment, my wife and son were the only ones who helped me get through it. We lived together as a family for 7 years, and life was good. One day, I was at the store when I suddenly heard loud shouting from the sales floor. I rushed out of my office and saw a drunk guy pulling my senior consultant, Harper, by her hair, dragging her toward the exit. Then he kicked her hard in the stomach. I immediately grabbed him by the collar. He was so intoxicated, he swung at me. I'm pretty fit. I spent my youth boxing, and even earned a master's degree in the sport. So, I didn't hesitate. I hit him back. The guy fell, and it looked like he passed out. We called an ambulance, but that's when things got really bad. It turned out that the man was Harper's ex-husband. She had filed for divorce and left him. What made it even worse was that he worked for the authorities, and he held a high-ranking position. 2 days later, he passed away in intensive care. Naturally, I was deeply distressed, though I knew that, in that situation, any man with honor would have done the same. Still, despite the witnesses' accounts and the circumstances, I was sentenced to 3 years. Everyone was shocked, including my closest friends, and of course, my wife and I. Together, we arranged for her to have a power of attorney to manage the store, as it was our sole source of income. Those 3 years passed slowly. My wife visited, but not very often. She kept telling me it was tough for her to run the store on her own. She even considered selling it, but I insisted she didn't. The end of my sentence was nearing, and I was released 3 months early. I wanted to surprise my wife and son, so I asked my best friend to pick me up and bring me home. I walked into the house expecting to see them, but no one was there. I assumed my wife must have been at the store. I took a quick shower, changed, grabbed the keys to the car in the garage, and headed out. When I arrived at the store, I was caught off guard. The sales staff were strangers, and the shelves were surprisingly stocked with goods. Then, out of the back, Harper emerged, the sane woman involved in that ugly situation. She looked both shocked and happy to see me, embracing me tightly, clearly caught off guard by my arrival. To be honest, I was glad to see her too, but I quickly asked, "Harper, is Sophia in the office?" She stiffened, her gaze dropping, and didn't answer me. I was confused, so I went straight to my office. That's when everything became painfully clear. My wife was there, kissing some stranger passionately on the desk. They didn't even notice me enter. I stood there for a moment, then finally spoke up. "Am I interrupting something?" They both jumped, startled. I was filled with rage, a fierce urge to hurt them both, but I'd learned the hard way how to control the force of my reactions. My wife started with some lame explanations, claiming it was all due to loneliness, how sad and lost she had felt, how she wanted love. But as I stood there, it became clear there were even more surprises waiting for me. Sophia had managed to drain all of our savings, the money we had carefully saved over the years. And while she claimed she was running the store, the business, she said, had become unprofitable. A lot of our regular customers switched to competitors. Apparently, for those 3 years, she'd been focused solely on her personal life. Needless to say, I was hit hard by everything I'd heard and seen. But at the same time, there was a strange sense of relief. I was finally back home. I told Sophia to get lost, to go build her life somewhere else, and I made sure to let her go. I filed for divorce and moved into my parents' house. The court granted her custody of our son, though he often found himself in my store, much to her annoyance. I've started to rebuild everything, reconnecting with clients, restoring the business, and the results are already showing. Meanwhile, Sophia's attempts at relationships are falling apart one after the other. She's probably going to spend a long time looking for someone as foolish as I was.